Hey guys, it's about 8:25 a.m. on this Tuesday, January 24th, 2024. If you hear anything in the background, it's me and my mom's gardener. He just showed up. He was supposed to come yesterday, but because, of course, as you could tell, we had a bit of a rainstorm over here. He had to hold back a day because, I don't think he wants to, be in the rain and all that. And then, of course, we have our neighbors. We don't know if it's the neighbors in the back of us, back here, anything back here, that, has their dog barking, or if it's our neighbors right over here that has their dog barking. But, it sounds like somebody kept them quiet or something. We basically told them that if something comes up, just talk to them and they'll talk to those people if it's who we think it is. But anyway, let's get to what this video is about. You see the topic. And if you would have told anybody last night, like JD from NY206 of Off the Script, just Alex Hicks of Alex's World, OTR Essential, Solomasta sounds off. If you would have told them that they would wake up on January 23rd, 2024, go onto social media and hear from all the reliable sources, but most importantly, WWE itself, that they have struck a deal to have Raw, Monday Night Raw, air live, on Netflix starting in January of next year, I don't think anybody would have believed you. I don't think anybody would believe you because, there was other potential candidates and everything. There were other potential candidates to land Raw. Warner Bros. Discovery, Amazon Prime, NBCUniversal with Comcast to keep it on, USA, or even put it on broadcast television with NBC. There was talk of, who else? FX, aka Disney, and so on. There was many avenues that they were going to potentially explore, and Netflix was mentioned on occasions. Like here and there, people would talk about Netflix being, in the discussion of possibly, getting Monday Night Raw. But we weren't too sure. And over time, they would, be mentioned, in a passing by kind of capacity when it came to like wondering who would, get the rights to Raw and all that. They would be mentioned in a passing by while all the other candidates, were mentioned very highly and strongly. Well, here, let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson. Always take every potential candidate, even the one that doesn't seem the most likely, very seriously and in strong consideration. Because if you don't, the most unlikely one will emerge the victor. And that's what Netflix has done here. Now, apparently, the deal is going to be for a decade, with the potential opting out, after 5 years by Netflix, or an increase, an extension of an additional 10 years by Netflix. And that's something that obviously WBD and others probably couldn't, financially afford. Now, despite what you might think about Netflix and everything, this is a big, big deal. Because, whether you believe the days of streaming are coming to an end, just like people think the days of physical media are coming to an end, which they're not, whether or not you feel that way, this is a huge win. This is a huge win because wrestling overall in general, sports entertainment, pro wrestling, however you look at it, in general, has a massive fan base. And they will follow their product anywhere. And if it means going over to Netflix and resubscribing to them or subscribing to them for the first time, which I don't think is going to be the case. I think there's going to be many people that dropped it. They're going to, re-upped on it because of this. If you're a fan that's going to follow them, even to someone like Netflix, then this is a big win. This is a huge win because it's going to bring in, a bigger audience. It's going to bring in more subscribers, more viewers and such. The other benefit about this as well is you're looking at Netflix as, a platform to where, let's say you have to leave the house while you're watching Raw, right? You're watching the live broadcast of Raw, you have to leave the house, but you don't want to miss a second. What you could do, just like you would do with a show you're watching, or a movie you're watching, you could stop it, exit out, turn off your app or the platform that you're playing Netflix on. Turn off your TV if it's your TV, and then just leave. Just make sure you have everything locked up, and then leave. That's it. That's all you do. That's all you would have to do. Then, when you get into your vehicle of transportation, mostly your car, as a passenger, as a potential passenger, or as the driver, as a passenger, you could just, basically, get your phone out. You can get your phone out here, if you will. You can get your phone out. You can go to the app, the Netflix app you have on your phone. You can go on the Netflix app you have here on your phone and everything. You can do that. And what it does is it will allow you to go to where you left off on Raw. Even if the broadcast is over, if things work out the way I believe they will, you'll be able to resume even with it, on replay, resume where you left off, which is a benefit you can't afford right now with Raw being on USA, because you could pause, Raw and everything, and then, hope it stays on, pause until you get back from wherever you're going. But that's not always the case, because the pause on a live broadcast has a limitation, just like it has a limitation on DVR. It has a limitation, on live broadcast. So you can only pause it for so long before it resumes. But with Netflix, you don't have to worry about that, because all you have to do is just exit the show and then get on your phone or tablet or whatever you're going to use as your next device for viewing, and continue where you left off. Like, let's say you got to go and leave your house for a night or so, because let's say the city decides, we're going to spray the entire neighborhood with a chemical that's going to rid you of all these bugs and stuff, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm not saying they would ever do that, but you never know with the way this world's going. But let's say that was to happen, you have to go to you have to go basically to the nearest hotel, right? Or you have to go to your closest family or wherever you're going to stay. So you go there, and you want to basically continue watching Raw. You want to continue where you left off. What you can do, let's say you're a passenger in the car, like I mentioned, or when you get to your destination, whether it's a hotel or, it's your relatives or whatever, you could just, after you settle in, you could just get on your phone or your tablet or your computer, your laptop, and your Google Chrome or your Chromebook, I should say, and you could just basically watch, where you left off. Because again, if you have to exit during a live broadcast, if things work out the way I think as I mentioned, I think they should, you'll be able to resume even when it's on replay. Resume where you left off, which is a benefit, or will be a huge benefit. Basically it's about retention, and that's the key thing there. It's not about ratings anymore in some cases, it's about, retention. And one of the ways to retain somebody, viewing your product is to allow them to be able to resume where they left off, even if the show is over. They could just go back and resume, while it's, in replay and not have to worry. And that's a benefit. And again, that's a benefit. Now, like I said, Netflix, obviously, according to people like Andrew Badella, who's going to do the Tuesday Night Titans with JD tonight on Off the Script. Going to tune into that to see what they have to say. But like I said, he mentioned that there are these little details of, the fact that, Netflix will be able to opt out. They will be able to opt out of their deal after 5 years, potentially, or extend it. Now, if they opt out, that means basically they feel they're getting nothing in return, or financially they can't afford to, keep Raw as part of their library or part of their platform, so they have to, pass it off to somebody else. On the other hand, if they decide, hey, we're getting a massive return here, they're they have the option to extend it for another 10 years, maybe another 5 to 10 years, excuse me there. And that's a plus for WWE because it guarantees them a home no matter what the situation. Now, for international markets, what this does basically it is essentially over time, if not right away, not only will it allow them to get Raw, at the same time we do, and over time in 2025, on their, international version of Netflix, but it also allows them via the international versions of Netflix. It allows them to view SmackDown, NXT, the entire WWE library if they can, and PLEs. But that won't happen until the beginning of 2025 and continuously roll out over time. And if you're an international viewer of Netflix and a fan of WWE, this is a huge plus for you as well, because this is something that basically, again, will allow you to watch whatever you want to watch, where when you want and how you want, and on whatever device. And like I said, going back to the example I used, if you have to leave somewhere, because you got a family emergency, or you're being told, hey, you have to evacuate your neighborhood because we're going to do this spray situation, which is going to basically prevent you from being in your home for at least, till the next morning. You will basically want to go to a hotel or whatever relatives you go to and be able to resume where you left off. Even if the show is over, you'll be able to resume where you left off while it's on replay. Again, huge benefit, huge deal, which I appreciate. And again, the key word that people use here is retention. And like I mentioned, the best way to retain is to allow people to do just, what I said. Now, the thing is, though, the current deal with Raw and USA ends in October. And this new deal doesn't start till January. So what happens? Well, there's a possibility that USA will sign, I guess you could say 2-month agreement, 2-month extension for the show. I'm sure TKO and WWE will reach a deal with USA to allow them to broadcast until the final day of this year, which would be December 31st. And if that's the case, that's then that's cool. That shows that USA has no ill will, and that if something ever comes up, like as I mentioned, Netflix decides to opt out, WWE would probably be welcomed back right away. USA will be the first group to potentially welcome them, home with open arms. That's a possibility. Not saying it is, but it's a possibility. So I think that's the more stronger solution that's going to occur. That they will get, a deal, made with USA to have a 2-month extension. Now, if that doesn't happen, then the most likelihood is they end up on Peacock. As part of, basically to, I hold on for a second. Almost got tongue-tied there. But like I said, the other potential option, if they don't get an extension with USA, is they end up on Peacock. They end up on Peacock for at least 2 months. That's what I could see. Or maybe they end up on NBC. Maybe because NBC has made this deal to do quarterly specials, right? Just like what AEW does, a Battle of the Belts. NBC is going to do something similar, maybe with the return of Saturday night's main event. We're not sure yet. But whatever the case is, if there is no option to extend with USA, then I could see WWE potentially either going to Peacock for the final 2 months of this year, November and December, or I could see them going over to NBC on Monday nights for about 3 hours, if not 2, to round out the year before going to Netflix. Those are options. Those are major options. But it's more than likely, I think, that they'll probably pay USA to let them, run out the rest of the year, with a 2-month extension. I think that's probably the most likely option. But yeah, again, this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal because it puts WWE on 3 viewing platforms. It puts them on 3 viewing platforms: broadcast, cable, and streaming. Basically, you're going to get your fix of WWE no matter how you see it. You want to, like, for example, SmackDown being on the USA, obviously part of this deal is going to have SmackDown have to recap what happened on Raw in case, let's say you don't have Netflix, which you should. A majority of houses haven't. But, that's one way of looking at it. SmackDown may be put into a situation that during the show they have to recap what happened on Raw, so you'll be up to date. But again, that's just one option we're looking at. That's just one potential option we're looking at. But we still don't know all the details. But this again it's a massive move. It is massive. And for anybody that's wondering if Netflix would be able to pull this off, let me remind you, they did a live broadcast. They've done a share of a few. They've done I wouldn't say a handful, but they've done quite a few live broadcasts already. One of them they did last year that got a lot of notoriety was the Chris Rock live stand-up special, which was live. They have experience in this area. And what this does is it basically, allows them, to, I was just checking something there, it basically allows them to, be on their toes, every week. And you can't tell me that TKO and WWE ain't going to have a team, they ain't going to have their, teams, ready to help them out. I mean, Endeavor has a team that's basically helping TNA with TNA Plus. So obviously they're going to have people that are part of that team come over to help Netflix adjust to this schedule they're going to be on every week. Now, the other, which I think is going to be good. I think it's going to be a good thing that they do that, so that way they get used to the fact of, hey, you're going to have to do this live every week. So just to let just letting you know. But now the question is, will Raw remain on Monday nights? Will it be a Monday night thing or will it go to Tuesday nights? What happens? And that's a good question. That's an absolute good question. We'll have to see. Because right now, we don't know where SmackDown's going to land on USA. A lot of people are assuming that it's going to land maybe back on Thursday nights. Some are even saying it could end up on Tuesday nights, but here's the problem. NXT it sounds like, from what last I heard, it sounds like NXT is going to stay on Tuesday nights on CW at 2 hours. Or even an hour, we'll have to see. So what that does for SmackDown, I think, is it puts them into a situation to where, they could be on Monday nights and be Monday Night SmackDown, which would be a first, and Raw could end up, on another night. Or what's going to happen more than likely is SmackDown will probably end up back on Thursdays. They might stay on Fridays. Or heck, if Triple H and Nick Khan really want to stick it to Tony Khan, they'll go right up on, they'll end up broadcasting SmackDown on Wednesday nights. So until we probably find out exactly where SmackDown's going to land, because like I said, we pretty much have an idea that CW is going to remain on Tuesdays. Once we find out where SmackDown lands on a weekly basis, for one day of the week, then we'll have an idea of where Raw, lands. More than likely, Raw will stay on Monday nights, and I could definitely see SmackDown, like I said, having these 3 other nights, as an option. That being Friday, Thursday, or Wednesday. And that's our Gardner's leaf blower right there. But those are the possibilities. And again, if WWE wants to stick it to Tony Khan, I could see them putting SmackDown on Wednesday nights. I could see that and giving us the Wednesday Night Wars. Because now it won't be NXT going up against AEW. It'll be SmackDown going up against AEW, and that's a different beast in itself, a different animal in itself, one that you do not want to mess with. But yeah, it's real. But yeah, this is just. I know I'm being repetitive here, but like I said, this is a huge game changer. It is a huge game changer, and like I said, we'll find out. We'll find out one way or another where Raw and lands weekly when it starts on Netflix next year. If it stays on Monday nights or it goes elsewhere, it could go to Wednesday nights. It could go to Wednesday nights, and that would be the one competing against AEW. But then, that's the other thing too that I think even Tony Khan should thank his lucky stars, because he basically as of right now, looks at is probably hearing this and being like, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to be sandwiched in between 3 WWE shows anymore. I just have to worry about 2 because there are flagship shows now going to a streaming platform. I don't have to worry too much about that. And that's probably true. But then again, if they don't improve, which it sounds like they're trying to take steps in doing, people will tune in to Raw every week. If Raw ends up on Wednesday nights, they will basically switch over to Netflix and watch Raw. They will watch it from there, no matter where they're at. Now, could they keep the show? Could they, when they switch over to Netflix and watch Raw, could they keep, the cable channel that they are switching over from on TBS, where Dynamite is? Oh, absolutely. That way, in a sense, Dynamite still gets some viewership, even though people are not watching them because they're watching Raw. That could happen if Raw ends up on Wednesday nights. Again, we don't know yet. But if I was to make a guess, hearing, about the fact that, NXT will stay on Tuesday nights as of right now, as far as we know, when it goes to CW, I look at the fact that if I was to guess, this is how I see it going. I see Raw staying on Monday nights, probably being reduced to 2 hours, because I think that's what part of the deal is going to be. I see NXT staying on Tuesday nights on CW at 2 hours, maybe an hour. And then for SmackDown, I'm guessing, I'm going to guess it's either going to be Thursday or Wednesday. And if I really want to be, if I really want to be a realist here, Triple H and Nick Khan, they like to stick it to Tony, make him look like a fool, make him basically pop off on social media and make himself and his company look worse than what it is. I think SmackDown is going to go to Wednesday nights. I really do. And it's going to go straight up against Dynamite. I think that's what's going to happen. So my opinion, and I might be wrong, it's too early to tell. Raw stays on Monday nights, NXT stays on Tuesday nights, and SmackDown goes to Wednesday nights to go head-to-head with Dynamite and restart the Wednesday Night Wars. But this time, again, it'll be a different playing field because this ain't NXT Tony Khan's going up against, period. But that's what I think could be the directive they go in. That could be the directive they go in and such. But that's not the end of it. Oh, no. We have a lot more news to talk about here. Hold on. There is a lot more news because Nick Khan also announced in an interview when he made this announcement, and again, it was confirmed and all that. Nick Khan made the announcement that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is part of the board of directors at TKO. And that because of this, he'll also be able to use The Rock name and moniker wherever he goes, without issue. So that's huge. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as part of the board of directors at TKO, that's huge. Now you might say, well, he has a close friendship with Vince. Wouldn't that mean he'll try to, wouldn't that mean Rock could potentially convince him to let Vince go back and be creative and all that? Look, I know that's the first thing that's going to, a lot of people are going to think that, oh, Dwayne Johnson's there. He's got a close friendship with Vince. Guess what? Vince is coming back. No. No. You see, The Rock, Dwayne, is like Triple H and Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan. He knows that, the business, has to grow. It has to evolve. I mean, this guy, along with his childhood friend, what's her name? Diane Garcia, whatever her name is. They came up with the idea of merging both the USFL and XFL into the UFL. And he realized that the only way spring football is going to stay alive, and football is going to be, around almost, year-round, almost year-round, or is going to, have a place year-round, fall and the spring, and be a place to develop the future of the NFL. He realized that it has to evolve, it has to grow, and that means merging, and that means taking his XFL and merging it with the USFL and going from there. And in 2 months, we're going to see the result of that with the UFL. Does that mean attendance might get better? Maybe. Maybe it will. I'm not saying it won't. But for anybody that's concerned of, Dwayne's going to have some say, and he might sway them and convince them to let Vince get back creatively, that's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about it. You got to remember, Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, and all of them have pretty much said Triple H and his crew is 100% in control, or at least 99.9% in control. End of story. I will say this. If you do see something that seems very familiar to Vince, Vince's style, I should say, if you do start noticing things that are very similar to Vince's style, yeah, then you might start worrying, but I don't think you have to. I mean, once Kevin Dunn left, that pretty much signified Vince ain't, in charge anymore. He's done. And you also got to remember, he's got some scandals and stuff, that he's got to try to avoid as well, or he's trying to avoid, because TKO, members of TKO are aware of this, and they know, this guy might be trouble. So, I don't think we have to worry about that. And again, I don't think we have to worry about Rock trying to influence him to let him be back in creative. That's not going to happen, because like Triple H and Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel, he realized it, because like I said, he's doing this with the United Football League. The only way for the company to grow, the only way things are going to grow, if you will, and evolve, and with the times, is to move forward and not backwards. But we're not done with that either. Even though that's good news, we're not done either with that, because there's something else that happened. We're going to talk about that right now. Okay, so we know that Kazuchika, I'm just going to say, I can't pronounce his first name, but we know Okada, who is basically New Japan Pro Wrestling's, answer to The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, modern day Hulk Hogan, if you will. We know, Roman Reigns, if you will. We know that he has pretty much made it clear, and New Japan has, backed this up, that he is going to be gone from New Japan at the end of this month. Now, he still has some commitments, in February, to finish out, with the company. His last match is going to be against one of his greatest rivals, Hiroshi Tanahashi. So that's going to be, and that's at the New Beginnings show, which is also going to feature Bryan Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. 2. Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. 2. But again, getting back to hold on for a sec. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Our gardener is going back and forth, from the front to the back, because he's mowing the lawn right now. But anyway, like I said, Okada's going to have his last match, in New Japan at the New Beginning show against Hiroshi Tanahashi. And that show is also going to have Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. 2. But what's interesting about this is everybody was wondering, where's Okada going to go? Where is he going to land? Well, a lot of people are saying that the obvious destination is AEW, because that way he doesn't have to uproot his family. from Japan. He can, stay in Japan. He could potentially work again with New Japan, maybe Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan, you name it, AAA. He can do all these different events, right? Well, apparently, according to a news source in Japan, and someone in New Japan, someone of top talent, top talent echelon, or, top official echelon, whatever the case may be. And this is just a rumor, but they are saying, according to people they've talked to, they are saying that Okada, he is bound for a promotion, but it's not AEW, and it's not TNA. That's right. According to this rumor and this one talent, what they're hearing is Okada could be WWE bound. That's right, he could be WWE bound, and his first destination would be NXT. Now you might say to yourself, wait a minute, Okada shouldn't go to NXT. He's a 7-time world champion from, New Japan. He's a legend, a modern day legend. He shouldn't have to do that. And that's true. That's true, he shouldn't, which is why I'm thinking that when somebody says NXT, they might be referring to the PC, like with what WWE is doing right now with Jade Cargill. They haven't done much with Jade Cargill since they've shown, that she's part of the company, had her appear on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, I think on a pay-per-view last year at the beginning. They haven't done much with her because they want to make sure she is ready to go. I mean, the next time we see her will probably be this Saturday and during and as a part of the Women's Royal Rumble match. That's when we're going to see her. Okada could be in the same situation to where, they know he's good. They know he's good and he can go in that ring, but he has to change up his style a little bit or at least tweak it to fit the WWE style of, competition. Now, this is a new regime, so they might say, you know what? We're not going to change your style up too much, but we are going to, kind of have you, tweak it here, tweak it here, there, kind of do this, kind of do that. Basically, I think they're going to keep his presentation pretty much the same, as what we see, in New Japan. And the other benefit is they have people like Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Sky. They have them there, Akira Tozawa. They have a good Japanese representation that, can talk to Okada, be at the PC to help him out and help him understand, how to adjust his style to where it's not too different from what people know him for, but it's tweaked just enough to where it fits the WWE brand, of competition. But again, that all depends on if this rumor is true. If what Resto, I can't even pronounce the name, the Japanese name, Perosa, or whatever, Wrestling Perosa, I can't pronounce it, but basically this Japanese wrestling news site has talked about, or has mentioned, if this is true, then this is not only a huge win for WWE, but it's a huge loss for Tony Khan, because, what's funny is Tony Khan, he's smoking, he's putting all these gifts out of, as soon as he hears Okada's going to be leaving, basically he's putting all these cocky little gifts out, basically stating that, yep, I'm going to, basically stating, not saying much, but basically stating the fact of, yep, I'm going to get Okada. It's just a matter of time. Yep. Now he can still get him, because this is just one report. But again, the person that's telling this source and telling this news site out of Japan is someone of top talent, of not top, if not top office echelon, in New Japan. That's the person that's, mentioning this. It's a top talent of upper echelon or top official of upper echelon in New Japan that's reporting this, that's also apparently close to Okada. They're close to Okada. So we'll see what happens. Because there are a lot of matches, Okada could do. I mean, him and Shinsuke Nakamura one-on-one, people would love that. People would love that, especially if WWE does another tour of Japan. You want to have a headline main event to close out some of your shows? That's a main event you can do it with. Okada versus Nakamura. You know, you want to do a revisit of Chaos, of Chaos leader versus Bullet Club leader, Okada, AJ Styles. You want to do a revisiting of Okada versus Finn Balor, Prince Devitt? There you go. Now, there are reports that Balor's contract's up after Mania, but, that's just one report. I think he's going to resign because Judgment Day is, too much on a hot streak, and I don't think they want to take away, a key member, of that group, when his contract expires. So I think he's either going to resign or he has resigned, or someone's just making up stuff because, they don't want they want Finn Balor to go elsewhere to get their dream matches. Oh, whatever the case may be. But there's all kinds of potential possibilities. Okada against Roman Reigns, Okada against Kevin Owens, Okada against Cody Rhodes, Okada against CM Punk, and so on. So there's a lot of matchups that people could potentially get if this is true. But again, it's just one person that's of the upper echelon of talent, if not upper echelon of office officials that are potentially that is probably, if not potentially close to Okada, that's reporting this. So we'll have to see if that's true. But yeah, that would be huge for WWE, a huge win for them, and a massive loss for Tony Khan. But that's all I'm going to say, guys. I mean, what a way to wake up on this Tuesday morning, to talk about that and, to talk about all this news, from WWE, Raw going to Netflix, to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson being part of the board of directors of TKO, to Okada potentially being WWE bound, more so than, ever. What a way to wake up this morning. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on all this news. What are your thoughts on WWE Raw going to Netflix? What night do you think it's going to land, on? Do you think it's going to stay on Monday nights? Once we find out exactly where SmackDown goes. What are your thoughts on The Rock being part of the board of directors of TKO? And what are your thoughts on Okada potentially going to WWE more so than AEW right now as we speak, thanks to the reports that this one upper echelon talent or official that's close to Okada has put out there, or at least that's what they're saying. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Love to hear love to hear from each and every one of you on this in the comment section as well as in the live chat. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are, because this is huge. This is huge, for wrestling all around with these three stories. But let me know what your thoughts are. Talk to you later.